All right. Checking in live with the Business Not As Usual podcast, episode 20. And I am doing my best to muffle the microphone with the
Oh,
construction that just sprung up. Anyways, I'm Vince.
and I'm Mike on the quiet side of the Business Not As Usual podcast. And this will be a not as usual podcast, I could see.
It will be, but you know what, Mike? It's an interesting time, right? Just to timestamp this, it's like we're close to the end of May. We've been in a lockdown for close to over 2 months. And my wife and I have decided we are going to renovate the backyard, and so we've engaged a company. They have been working for the last few days, and they were faced with a number of restrictions as a result of the lockdown. Like, they actually weren't able to start the work until recently. And as a small business, they don't have the same access to resources and they haven't had the same problems that a lot of the companies that you and I talk about on the show that are like financial institutions, banks, government, large organizations. But maybe, and I thought maybe that would be a good episode for us to just sort of explore, is like, how do small businesses, how have they navigated this transitionary time?
And I think they not only how have they handled it, at the speed of which they have to handle it. So
right.
You said banks, like for the most part, banks haven't had to turn on a dime. Their whole business model hasn't changed because of COVID. Like, there's been tweaks, or if you're part of a transformational project, there may have been a hold period, like till everyone got up and running at home and we'll figure it out. But businesses, unless they change, they may not be a business any longer. And so there's been, and you and I have talked about this, there's a bunch of businesses that were very traditional, and within 2 weeks have turned to like online mavens. And then there's some that are like, yeah, I don't know what to do. I'm going to wait for the return to normal. And not sure how that strategy is going, but I'm pretty sure not well.
Well, and I mean, that's something, and I think we've talked about it here. That's something that as a not only as an employee that myself, but I'm also a small business owner, a one man, my speaking and training thing. And, I know, myself and a number of other people that do that sort of thing overnight, actually almost literally overnight, business was gone. Like, right. I know people that they've lost their entire year.
Right.
Like,
and that is their year. Like, that's how they make money.
That's how they make money. And so, I'm glad this is the reason why I live a double life, is so that I don't have that same worry, but I still rely on my business and my speaking and my training income to supplement the day gig. And so, right. As a small business owner myself, it was a struggle, because a lot of people did say, okay, well, I'm just going to wait it out. And there are a lot of other people that are sort of, the sky is falling, where they're like, in-person speaking is done. It will never come back. And I think that's
forever.
That's forever. That's what a lot of people are saying, that, man.
Wow.
It'll never come back. There will never be a live conference again. And I disagree, because I think there's value in that personal touch. So speaking will be back. Conferences will be back. But in the interim, I've had to sort of just pivot to something I wanted to do anyway, but putting all of my material so that it's available online, and so that, I still have that, I can continue the relationships with people that I've trained in the past. So,
yeah.
But I wonder, and maybe you can share some insights on some of the small businesses you've engaged with. How are they handling this change?
So there's a small business that it's a bakery here in Toronto that I frequented many times a week. That and as very traditional business, right? Walk through traffic. You go there. You actually got to pick your own buns and put in a bag, and the store was always super crowded. No chance of social distancing. At the beginning of COVID, they limited the amount of people in the store, but it also became not how they wanted to run business. So they shut down for 2 weeks and then came back. And they did put their stuff online and things like that. But it's a great example of it's not a digital transformation, it's a business transformation. They didn't just decide to come back as a bakery. They became a new business. They became a pure take. They need to reimagine what a bakery was, and they became a pure takeout, like, delivery system that just happened to do great cakes and coffees. But they've slowly
and donuts and
fantastic donuts. So just a shout out, San Remo, Celta Tobaco. Check them out online. But they weren't just, we'll wait it out and then we'll do some things. Their entire business changed to be pickup and delivery, and now they've moved to an app to get coffee in real time. So you go down there, you pick your coffee. It's actually better than waiting in line. Like, you do it from your car, you wait a few minutes, you go outside, they have it for you all happy from a window that they built. But the point is, they're not a bakery. They are a distribution center that happens to give out great food. So again, it's not that they went online and it was a digital transformation. They transformed the way they do business for a 2022 world that they need to do now because of COVID. So when you're thinking about that, and you talked about, you getting some things done in your backyard, like I assume you asked for a quote online, but how did then they come and see what you wanted? Did they do it by like a drone, or you were just 6 feet apart? Like, how did that, or they just came in the backyard and went, all right, what do you guys want? Like, how did that work?
Yeah. So this is where having a wife who has a background in design was super helpful, because and we have a history of, she'll describe something, and I am not, when it comes to like landscaping, and I'm not a visual thinker. So it's like, so we're gonna put river rock down the side and a lilac bush and and it's like, what do you think of that? I don't know. I can't see, my mind cannot.
I can't wrap my head around.
I cannot wrap my head around that. And let's not even get started on what color stone do you think would. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. The gray one. The gray one. Gray. Like, okay, obviously I picked the wrong one. So this is where she actually before we even engaged for a quote, she already knew what she wanted. She had it sketched out to scale, and so it was a matter of sharing that image, and then there were some adjustments, but sharing that image to say, this is what I want, quote.
Okay.
Now
that's a special case. So
that's a special case.
Let's pretend the person didn't do that. Do you know
didn't
how
didn't have a background in landscaping and design?
I need a quote. You need to come. So
yeah,
did they describe how they usually 80% of the time they would do that?
Yeah. So, and I mean, this is not our first rodeo. So historically, the owner or the salesperson would come to your house. You would sit around a table. They would show you samples. You would, make some choices. They would usually draw the sketch, and you'd talk about what would go where, and it was more of a hands-on. It felt more hands-on,
right?
Which for me drove me nuts, because, again, not good at those things,
right?
So, whatever. This one, what went similar, except we weren't inside.
Okay.
We went to the backyard. We stayed, 2-3 meters apart.
Okay.
And it was a conversation. Mostly I was not involved, but it was a conversation about, what goes where and
right.
And that. So
he did come to the house. He just stayed apart.
Yes.
But then the back and forth quote where they, have the piece of paper, then they turn it towards you.
Yes.
That all goes away because that's
that was
all part of the dance before.
That was completely digital. Completely digital.
Which is way better. I always hated the dance.
Right.
Across the table, they put a price. You go, how about if we do cash note? Wait.
No.
Hypothetically, how if you do cash note? Like that whole, can't you take anything off? I'll tell you. I'll tell all my friends about you.
Right.
Which was always super uncomfortable.
Yeah. So no, there was none of that. It was like, here's the quote.
Right.
Here it is. Here, and it was actually really, really good because it was itemized and it was like, hey, if you want to, save on costs, you can do the demolition yourself. You can, and I'm like, yeah, Vince doesn't work. Vince doesn't
do the demolition yourself.
Vince
doesn't demo.
This, like, it was itemized to that level,
right?
Because he wanted to give us the ability to customize, almost like we were ordering off of a custom menu. We were building our combo,
right?
And so so everything was itemized, and then we did, we went and said, well, we don't like the stone you quoted us on. We're getting really specific here, but like, we want this other one, and it's more expensive, so that goes up. We decreased the size of our deck, which brought costs back down. So it was almost like we were just playing with the space. And so, but the whole thing, outside of that, outside of the owner coming and seeing the physical space and then, being able to quote on it, it was completely done digitally.
Right.
Now, I've worked with, vendors like that in the past. It's never been digital.
Correct.
Never.
So I'll give you another example.
Sure.
I was looking for a Traeger, which is it's a fantastic 6-in-1 type barbecue thing. It's like the Heyman family from In Living Color. It's a smoker, it's a grill, it's a barbecue, it's a baker, it's all these things. It's all these things. So
how old's your little boy? 3. and how many jobs does he have?
I don't have any jobs.
None. He's 3.
He's lazy.
That family was the best.
I'm a pilot, a surgeon.
Oh man, hey, In Living Color was not to go nonsense. It was ahead of its time.
Yeah,
like it was ahead of its time. Much like the Chappelle Show was. Like, yes, just ahead of its time.
Absolutely.
But we digress.
But I digress.
A Traeger, yes.
Yeah,
go ahead.
So, a company that I had worked with, I had visited before, which in my neighborhood showroom, it was small. They had all the stuff there. Went back and forth. It was near the end of the season, so I kind of just wait till next year. Now they're closed.
Oh.
Right. So, you can't go in there. You can't.
Oh,
so
okay.
They're just an online business. So the one I wanted wasn't around. So I contacted them, and then we had a back and forth. And then when I decided that's the one I was going to get, he did the order for me. And then all I had to do was here's the itemized order with, order now. And I just had to put in my, my address. But again, rethinking the way they sell. So the salesman sold. It was just a different way of selling. And they, again, are also now, because they're not paying for staff and the store, they're able to give free shipping. They're going to come, as long as I'm not around, they're going to come, they're going to set up the whole thing for me and then walk away. Because that's a value they can add, right? So they're not a showroom anymore. They're just a distribution center. And
Right.
again, sales, but sales in a different way.
Right. Well,
And he sold at like 8:00 at night. Like we would send emails, like it started off as a contact form, and then it just turned into emails that wasn't their 10 to 6. It was like 8:00, 9:00, 7 in the morning. And he would just get back to me that way. So his selling is now not limited to 10 to 6 when I go in the store.
Right.
And he's broadened his way to get a hold of me.
Right.
Well, and for me to get a hold of them.
Right. And that to me is the thing that's the most fascinating. Like, you know, I don't think it's going to impact, you know, work-life balance. And I'll go at this, you know, from a personal perspective. Like, you know, so I did a talk a couple days ago where at the end of it, people were asking like, hey, do you have online courses? And it's like, well, I just happen to be, yes, I'm working on that right now. I have people that have bought courses that I've put out there for pre-sale just to sort of gauge interest that I haven't even finished yet. Like that to me is fascinating. I have no product. Now, not to worry people that gave me their money. There will, like, it is thought out. I just haven't built it. But like there's nothing there, and yet they're already willing to invest in that. And that to me is fascinating. And that happens like I was doing nothing. I was like eating lunch. And I get an email, hey, someone bought your course. Like that to me is fascinating. Going to sleep and waking up with more money in your account blows my mind. And that's the world that these companies, the ones that can take advantage of it, will wake up to.
And I also you said something about work-life balance. I think work-life balance is a concept when you have to go somewhere and you're there from 10 till 6. And then you come home and then, I still got to get emails. I don't have work-life balance. But when you're at home, it's more like work-life integration because you can do a whole bunch of things and it's okay. And now when you get an email, a sales call at 8:00, it's not that big a deal to take it because when you're not, because I'm pretty sure when you're sitting in the store, it's not like, you know, in a day in July, or like July 22nd, I'm pretty sure it's not a happening time at the old barbecue store. So they probably sit there most of the day not doing anything. But if you're at home, you can do a whole bunch of things because nothing's happening. But then if you get an email at 8:00 at night, you can make a sale and not think that's a burden. And so again, when they're talking about transforming your small business, it's thinking about how you take advantage of these things. And you're in a much better position because you could move much quicker.
Right.
You can move much quicker. You don't have legacy systems. So you could, you can integrate with Shopify or Ritual or all these other things that all you have to do is do your product there, and you do it once and it's there. And you don't have to talk to 87 departments and 14 chiefs and all kinds of VPs and senior VPs. You get to make things happen like instantly. And so I think it's actually an exciting time for small businesses. Now, the ones that are, when I say that, the ones that are built around browsing, like your antique stores or like the Gap or, any type where someone needs to be there, like that is going to be, I'm not sure how they're going to transform. If you need people to be in your store, because that's the charm of it, I don't know. You have to think of a new way of doing that. You'd have to inventory everything. But the stores I'm talking about, they have a whole bunch of things, and the fun of it is going through it and seeing all these different types of things. I don't know how those people really need to think about how to transform. And that is a business conversation. It has nothing to do with technology. You can just, again, throw everything on Shopify, but you need to figure out what you are, which is the work.
Well, and the Gap also actually has a pretty decent e-commerce.
Right.
They're actually, it's pretty solid.
Right.
Sorry, that definition wasn't for you. I know you know what e-com is, but I used the like slang term and then realized everybody listening to this might not know what e-com means. So
Right.
just let me clarify. The when you talk about poor sort of, online experiences, and again, it's not about the technology,
Right.
but I use an example when I talk about like nudging behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And I use and this is my opinion, so this is not meant to disparage, but Walmart's and I know we're talking small business, and Walmart doesn't fit that bill, but like Walmart's e-commerce is terrible.
Yes.
Right? It's terrible.
It's terrible.
But
agreed.
From are trying to nudge you into the store.
Right.
Because once you're there, you buy a lot of useless crap that you wouldn't have bought if you were ordering online.
Correct, because you're very targeted when you order online.
Exactly.
That's what I mean about the browsing. If your company is built on browsing,
yes,
yeah, you need to rethink that right now.
Right.
I don't know if
which means they have to fix their e-commerce like now.
But even the whole philosophy about browsing, right? Because I've seen like, oh, we have a knickknack store that has seven. You know the ones they have like 7,000 things in the store, and the glory of it. It's not a small business. HomeSense.
Yeah.
It has
they don't even have an inventory. It's just like
their product line is like infinite. Like there is no product line. It's everything.
Right.
And they get stuff like by the minute. So they're built on browsing. Those businesses needs to rethink that. And it has nothing to do with digital, because you could inventory all that crap. The point is, if you're built on browsing, you're probably in trouble right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I have always been very targeted in my shopping. I hate.
You and I are.
I'm just saying, me. Yes. I can only speak for myself.
Yes.
And so I'm agreeing with you. I think those companies are in trouble. Because I've always hated HomeSense. I've always hated going to, and again, it's not about HomeSense, but just that idea that like you have to, it's designed
wander the aisle,
have to browse, and that is gone. Like that's the time BC before COVID. Like that's
before COVID.
Before COVID, that time is gone. And so I guess we started today talking about small businesses and the need to pivot, and it still comes back to small business, big business, government business, bank business. You have to really look at how you operate and look at does it match the current environment, which I know changed rapidly,
right?
But then it requires a rapid response, right? And so it's like San Remo. Sounds like I haven't been, and that's shame on me.
Shame on you.
But San Remo, like, it sounds like they did they pivoted, or they readjusted their heading very well,
right,
to still be able to at the very least keep the lights on.
Correct.
Right. Because and I again, this is not a normal time, so it's time will tell whether that sort of business model stays in perpetuity, or whether it's just a temporary thing, or whether it's a hybrid. Like it's still an offering, but things like curbside pickup, I don't think is going away.
Oh no, because people love it.
People love it. People are like, I can't wait in line. The lean Six Sigma background. I can't wait in line. I hate it. Like, I was at Disney with the family, and we got the fast passes,
and you still couldn't do it.
And I had to wait in line for 5 minutes, and I bitched the whole time.
The whole 5 minutes.
Why did we get the whole 5 minutes? Why did we get these fast passes?
These fast passes suck.
It's one of the few times when I speak in the third person. Like, Vince doesn't wait in line. And my wife's like, it's 5 minutes. Like, what's your problem?
No, it's 5 minutes too long.
No, it's 5 minutes.
Fast passes.
But even I have waited in line to go to a grocery store. because they didn't. I needed something quick, and I didn't. I had missed the window to do curbside pickup. So, I would much rather do that because I don't want to wait in line. Because my time is still, despite the fact that there's nothing to do,
it's still valuable.
My time is still valuable.
That's right. I can't wait around.
Come
I don't want to wait around.
Come on, man.
But I think it really highlights, and we've both preached this, it has nothing to do with technology.
Yes.
I think this last half hour that we've talked, I hope everyone has seen that it is about thinking about your business. So digital transformation, it is about how your business is going to change to meet the times, which is what a business transformation is. It's not about API strategy. It's none of that, or platform strategy. It's not. Everybody makes it that, but this is proof that it's not.
Right.
And it's everywhere from a small business to large business that we've talked about throughout this podcast. That's what we keep saying. And I hope this highlights that from like your one man, one woman speaker company, like you're a speaker, to, the big banks.
Right.
How are you doing business in 2025?
And that's something, and I'm confident saying this because I've been saying it for years. 90% of the stuff we do relates to people and process. And I think 90 is actually being conservative. Technology is an enabler of those things. Technology can take a good process and make it better, but it can also take a bad one and make it worse.
Correct.
Right. So technology is not the solution. We default to it because it's cool, and we think that, that tech rules the world. 90% is people and process. So, dust off those old Lean Six Sigma books, because that still works. That methodology still works. It's hard, which is why I think it gets a lot of shelving. I don't want to do the work. I'd much rather spend money and buy a new digital platform for my business. But you don't need to spend that money if you can actually fix the way you do business. And right. I think if we've done nothing, I think that's the whole point of this show is it is about business. And business is done by people.
Correct.
Who follow process.
Yeah.
People and process.
And
I think that's a good place to end. What do you?
I think that's a good mic drop right there.
Right there it is. So
I would actually like to hear from people of small businesses that they think have done a great job pivoting in this time of COVID. Like, how are they doing business in March, the beginning of March? How is it completely different now? And what do you think of it? Like, throw out some names, like give them props.
Yeah.
I think it's
so we'll hear from I guess we're reaching out to business owners. How have you pivoted?
Yeah.
But then also, if you're just listening and you've been a customer, and have seen a dramatic shift in the approach to business for someone you've engaged with, let's hear those stories too. And let's give them a shout out.
Yeah.
Because maybe future guest. Huh?
There you go.
There you go.
Come and talk about how you didn't know what you were going to do, and you pivoted to figure out how you're going to keep your business going.
Right.
Those would be great stories.
Those are great stories.
I would love to hear those.
Hey, we got a whole story arc on that one.
It would be great.
Yeah. So with that, then, I'm at vincentmirabelli.com and lovetheprocess.academy. And you are
michaelmartino.ca and on the gram @_Michael
And this has been the episode 20 of the Business Not As Usual podcast. We're gonna have to do something special for 25.
Yeah, I think so.
We'll talk. But thanks for checking out the episode. Love to hear what you think. Don't forget to share and like and comment on whatever platform you get your podcasts on. We appreciate you. You're the best. See you in the next one.
See you later.